Young Thug's decision to request the judge's permission to continue working with his YSL signee Gunna was a welcomed surprise to many. No one expected the two could ever reconcile, let alone collaborate, after the controversies surrounding Gunna's plea deal amid the RICO case against Thug and YSL. What made Thug's request even more surprising was that ever since Gunna secured release, he's been treated like an outcast by the YSL crew on the outside, with many of them labeling him a rat for taking the Fed's deal. But here's where things get tricky. It turned out that Thugger's request to work with Gunna was just a ploy, because since the YSL #1 got out, every move he's been making looks like he isn't ready to forgive and forget, at least not yet. It's clear he has a bone to pick with Gunna, but the real question is, how did their relationship unravel to this point? Today we're diving into the chain of events that turned a mentor against his protégé. Young Thug's miraculous release from prison after battling a 2-year RICO case was celebrated by fans everywhere, but it wasn't just his freedom that had people buzzing. It was the possibility of a reunion between Thug and Gunna, the two biggest stars of YSL. When news broke that Thug had explicitly requested permission to work with Gunna again, social media was set into a frenzy as fans couldn't contain their excitement. Then it all came crashing down with a single tweet from Thug that read, quote, "Gunna, stop acting like we are friends on the internet. I don't know you, my guy," end quote. The tweet hit fans like a punch in the gut. Many had genuinely held out hope that Slime and Gunna could look beyond their differences, patch things up, and move forward. It's hard to believe there was a time when Thug couldn't stop singing Gunna's praises everywhere he went. Now that feels like a distant memory. The interesting thing is there is actually a segment of fans who wanted Thug to stand on business and cut ties with Gunna altogether, so I guess for them, this is a win. However, the whole plot thickened when the tweet mysteriously disappeared from Thug's account. This sparked speculation that his account had been hacked and that he hadn't written the message in the first place. While that theory gained traction, others were quick to point out that tweets like this could potentially violate Thug's parole conditions, which would explain why it was quickly deleted. Either way, both sides made sense when you think about it. Fans who are still holding out hope of a collaboration seem to be overlooking one critical fact. Thug has a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to snitches, and Gunna allegedly falls into that category. Barely days after beating an incredibly airtight RICO case, Thug took to Twitter to post a very risky, cryptic tweet saying, "Wham, let's drop one on their rats, Peter." This tweet seemed like Slime's way of reminding those he believed had cooperated with authorities that he hadn't forgotten and might be coming for them. This is a bold and risky move considering he's barely warmed his sheets after more than 24 months behind bars. But Thug will always be Thug, and 2 years inside does not change anything. Even DJ Academics weighed in on the situation with a series of tweets that alluded to these claims. According to Academics, Thug had allegedly told Lil Durk, Lil Baby, and others to distance themselves from Gunna while he was still locked up. With that in mind, Academics believed it was unlikely that Thug would suddenly embrace Gunna upon his release. Academics went further, revealing some inside information about some of the things that went down within YSL while Thugger was inside. Reportedly, Thug had initially planned to release his album Business is Business on the same day as Gunna's project, an intentional move to overshadow and mess with him. The plan even included featuring Lil Durk and Baby on the album, which will be a clear statement that Thug was done with Gunna on every level. Unfortunately for Thug, things didn't work out that way. Meanwhile, Gunna and his hardcore fans have faced relentless backlash ever since he came out, and even more than 1 year later, the memes and the accusations persist. Big ups to Gunna though, he didn't let the accusations and speculations get to him, at least not publicly. He stood on business and just continued to propel his music career despite the storm. But the real question is, why does Thug harbor so much resentment? After all, the circumstances surrounding his own release from prison feel shady at best. For context's sake, let's rewind to 2022, when Gunna took the plea to get out of the RICO indictment the feds filed against YSL. When the video of Gunna seemingly implicating Thug and YSL in court hit the internet, it went viral and ignited a firestorm of debate. The outrage from Thug's fans was deafening, with many convinced that Gunna had effectively made the case a slam dunk for the feds. But what a lot of people didn't understand at that point was that Gunna entered what was called an Alford plea, which essentially meant that he admitted the prosecution had enough evidence to convict him. But the interesting thing about the Alford plea is that Gunna wasn't directly admitting guilt outrightly. This effectively ensured that Gunna's statements couldn't be used against Thug in court. A lot of people didn't care to understand the finer details though. Many fans and media outlets ran with the speculations as they saw fit, effectively painting Gunna as the Judas who betrayed Thug and YSL. Even though we know sometimes these cases aren't always black and white, the law is the law. The fact that despite the criticism and the speculations, Gunna was still getting a lot of love when he came out seems to shock many who thought he was going to be cancelled. One of the personalities who couldn't stomach the thought that Gunna wasn't getting blackballed was none other than the chief snitch himself, Tekashi 6ix9ine. We all know what happened with 6ix9ine, right? How he got himself permanently cancelled from the culture after he was exposed for snitching on the entire Bloods gang to avoid a potential 40-year imprisonment. Well, it's really no surprise that Tekashi was bitter about the love Gunna was getting, but what he doesn't seem to understand is the difference between his deal and Gunna's. It's clear like night and day. But the truth is, the future looked very bleak for Gunna at first when he first came out. The infamous video of him seemingly implicating YSL was seen as a direct violation of the street code, and many believed his career was over. But that didn't turn out to be the case. Thanks to his PR team and also to the fact that what he didn't qualify as snitching, the fact that he didn't hide in the shadows and instead talk publicly about the situation played a significant role in reshaping the narrative to a certain extent. In one of his statements, Gunna said, quote, "While I've agreed to always be truthful, I want to make it perfectly clear that I haven't made any statement. I've not been interviewed, I have not cooperated, and I have not agreed to testify or be a witness for or against any party in the case. And I have absolutely no intention of being involved in the trial process in any way," end quote. Gunna didn't stop there. He took to Instagram, doubling down on his allegiance to YSL with a post that read, quote, "People acting like they're switching sides, but it's only been one side. Hashtag YSL the label, hashtag free Thug, and yak, Gunna back," end quote. These moves proved to be pivotal in how the public perceived Gunna's plea deal. A lot of fans came to understand that if he had really snitched, there's no way he would be making these public statements confidently. Despite his apparent olive branch, YSL's higher-ups weren't buying it. Many label affiliates unfollowed Gunna on social media, signaling a clear rejection and a refusal to accept the rapper back into the fold. YSL Mondo, one of the top dogs of the label, also expressed his disappointment in Gunna's move to take a plea deal, expressing that his actions went against the expected code of loyalty. But it wasn't just the YSL affiliates who turned on Gunna. Some high-profile artists who once worked closely with him sided with Thug, with many of them drawing a firm line. 21 Savage, for example, made his feelings clear on the track Letter to My Brudda, where he rapped, quote, "I can't kick it with your kind like I tore my meniscus. How do you go from co-defendant to an effing witness," end quote. Even though Gunna didn't legally tell on Young Thug, the streets weren't seeing it that way, with many of the good relationships he had before the whole mess began souring badly. Even Lil Baby, who used to be one of Gunna's closest collaborators, appeared to call him out in a freestyle with the lines, "Heard some guys taking pleas, I know that Slime ain't happy." Well, Slime ain't happy for sure, but Gunna is out and he wasn't going to allow the negativity to ruin his career. So he got on with business and focused on his music, a move that turned out to be brilliant. Ever since he got out, Gunna has been nothing but successful in everything he has ventured into. Every project he put out has been doing amazing numbers, showing just how much people believed in his craft and loved his music regardless of the controversies. The crazy thing is, he did it without the help of Thug or other artists who used to slide for him. People are quick to overlook the fact that Thug is a free man now, and there's no way that freedom didn't come at a price. If Gunna had snitched on him, he would have probably eaten the RICO charge, barring an extraordinary turn of events. Whatever deal they both cut to secure their freedom shouldn't really matter. The key word here is freedom, a privilege they now share, albeit under strict conditions. While Gunna has faced backlash and burned bridges with key figures in the hip-hop world, his resilience is worth noting. Without Thug's approval, those bridges seem irreparable for now. It's evident that Gunna still hopes to mend fences with Thug, but the odds worsened after Thug appeared to take a jab at him on Hellcat Kenny. Quote, "Most of my people are loyal, I ain't even gotta look, but turning my back, some of the slimes out here, they are rats," end quote. Although Thug didn't name drop anybody, many interpreted that the lyrics were aimed at Gunna. While everyone in the YSL family is acting indifferent towards Gunna, Thug's dad, Jeffrey Williams, has consistently defended him. He has been seen multiple times clearing the air that every move Gunna made didn't have any negative effect on his son's case. What's striking about Gunna's personality is his temperament. Despite the immense pressure he has been under, he has managed to avoid unnecessary conflict that could hurt him even more, which is very important. All he has done ever since was to defend himself. If you listened closely to his track Bread and Butter, you'll hear where Gunna reaffirms his commitment to YSL, claiming he's still grinding and generating profits for the label despite the backlash. There's nothing but the truth from Gunna. Despite the speculations and the scathing criticisms from people he used to call family, he is still dropping amazing projects that are amassing insane numbers, all of which are direct profits for the label. In an interview with Rap Caviar a few months ago, Gunna was asked if he was still signed to YSL Records. His reply was, quote, "I'm still signed to YSL, I'm still providing, we are still pushing, no paperwork has changed," end quote. Now, what more could Gunna do to get back in Thug's good graces? Well, come to think of it, is there a possibility that this is a marketing gimmick and both Thugger and Gunna are in on it? Well, when it comes to the entertainment industry, you can't take that possibility away. We've seen crazier things happen. As far as we know, though, this beef is still on and it doesn't look like there's a resolution in sight so far. But the fact remains, apart from Thugger, the second highest earner for YSL is Gunna, and that means his input since he's been out has been crucial for the label and Thug himself. Despite all he's been through, Gunna has maintained that he harbors no hard feelings. On his latest album, One of One, he reflects on the turmoil while still extending an olive branch. In the track Bittersweet, Gunna opens up with heartfelt lyrics. Quote, "Things have been rough, but I ain't too tough to say I love and miss you. You my dog, I don't care if we fall out, brother, I could never diss you." End quote. Gunna took his rendition further, saying, quote, "My fans have been coming through for me. You think they're entitled? Thinking about the crew again. Could we reunite them?" End quote. Now, One of One is an incredible body of work, by the way, but this Bittersweet track is without a doubt a message to Thugger, and he better listen. Gunna isn't an informant or a rat, and the evidence is there to prove that to be true. Several top attorneys have analyzed the plea deal he took, and they all came to the same conclusion. Gunna didn't snitch on no one. While Gunna has found success on his own, it would be great to see him back with Slime, especially now that he is free. The potential for these two to reconcile and collaborate again could spell greatness for both their careers and YSL's future. They need to bury the hatchet and move forward, making this paper together. So what do you think about the whole Gunna and Slime situation? Do you believe they could still find their way back to each other? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you resonate with this kind of content, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.